All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to introduce myself first. So I'm Riley. I'm the founder of Sophia Health. And as you know, we're an online health and wellness marketplace connecting clients to practitioners. I'm looking forward to our conversation today on mindset for many reasons. One in particular is sometimes people are confused by the fact that we have many different types of health and wellness professionals on this platform. It's often hard to understand how this translates to health and wellness. First, the platform is a confluence of traditional, integrative, nutritional, holistic, beauty, fitness, spiritual, and healing professionals. At Sophia Health, we believe that health is more than just seeing a doctor once a year. It's about supporting your entire mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. If you think about it, that encompasses a lot. Every day we face challenges, from personal relationships to our professional life to our social lives. We're faced with choices, decisions, and expectations, deadlines, stress, and anxiety. Life is full of ups and downs. And as we transition through various life conditions or events, especially like we're experiencing today with COVID, we feel it takes a team to ensure you're getting the support you need at the time you need it and by the professional that suits you best. Secondly, I'm happy that Ro is talking to us today about mindset because she sheds light on the tools that we have available to help give our minds a tune-up. We've seen recently a few very popular stars come forward about serious topics such as the mental health issues they're facing or how trauma as a child has affected their entire life. Mental health affects everyone. There is no discrimination. We all need tools to help keep our minds healthy. It's equivalent to going to the gym to work out our bodies in order to stay in shape. We should not have social stigmas around mental health. So at Sophia Health, you can search different categories and find practitioners to help you with conditions that you might be going through. From stress to fatigue, grief to depression, do not live this alone or think you're alone. Find somebody to talk to. We have hundreds of practitioners offering service you might not have ever heard of before, such as NLP. But you could stumble upon tools that could change your life. So one of my favorite quotes is, if you can change your mind, you can change your life. That quote is by William James, who's considered the father of American psychology. But think for a minute about how powerful that statement is. This is why mindset matters. If you can change your mind, you can change your life. Our mindset and what we tell ourselves about ourselves, what we think, what we choose to believe, it matters. This is why it matters that we stay mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically healthy. Sophia Health is a resource for you to find the support you need. So whether you need help with stress, fatigue, a chronic disease, grief, or you just want to take a breathwork class, find a Reiki practitioner, get a human design reading, or get your blood work tested, the practitioners on our platform offer services to keep you healthy. Mentally, physically, and spiritually. Oprah, Tony Robbins, Gary Zukav have all been saying this for years, but please remember, there are a lot of things beyond our control, like this pandemic. But what you do have control over is how you react to whatever happens. We all become exactly what we believe. And with that, we have Ro joining us today. She uses a few different tools to help clients with mindset. She's a life coach, NLP practitioner, a Reiki master, and a clinical hypnotherapist. So who better to talk to? She works with clients every day to help them change their mindsets in order to break habits, stop limiting beliefs, and more. So Ro, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Why don't you just give us a little bit of information about your background? I mean, you do so much around mindset, so we're fortunate to have you.
Yeah, so like you said, you mentioned all the different modalities that I work in with becoming a mindset coach, as well as I am a pediatric nurse and other businesses I've done. But I will be honest in saying that this is the best thing learning about NLP and all the other modalities that you mentioned, because I did it more to learn about myself and my emotions, and to even change or flip, if you will, the way that I think about things and my views and perceptions, and why do I think this way, or why do I think negatively about this. So I went through my certification program mainly to help myself. And then when I saw the huge impact it had on clients, I said, this is something that everybody needs to know.
So you started training then. You ended up first and foremost a pediatric nurse, I know, and
Yes,
then you went to life coach, and then you just kept going. Clinical hypnotherapist,
yes.
Reiki master now. Have you added any since we last spoke?
I am currently working on 2 or 3 that I'm in the process of at the same time. Yeah.
So can't wait till you can offer those on Sophia Health. What is NLP?
Okay. NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So neuro, the nerve, the minds, right? That's our senses. That is our visual, our auditory, our kinesthetic, and the way we feel. It's olfactory in our smell. It's gustatory in the way we taste things. So that is our senses. And linguistic, meaning language and communication. So NLP is like the user's manual, lost user's manual of the mind.
So you basically use that to reprogram.
Yes. So from when we were born to 7 years old, we are like a sponge. And as kids, we are a walking subconscious mind. And what that means is we know kids have no filter. From ages the time we're born to 7 years old, everything we see, we experience, all our senses, communication, we are taking all of this information in. And as we get older, those experiences and what we go through gets programmed into our subconscious mind. So if we take our experiences, that is our reality. And then through that reality in our experiences, we have these internal representations. So we may have information that we delete, we may distort it, or we may generalize the information. And then we also get into this state and behavior. So when we are communicating to other people and we are thinking and we are processing all of this information, what people don't realize is when we communicate and we're going through thought process, there's what's called time, location, mood. There's language, beliefs, values, our identity, and decisions that we make. And when you can learn the language of the mind and there's this saying that our words don't describe the world we live in. Our words actually determine it for our own selves. So when you learn the language of the mind and you can start to understand why we have a certain thought and then how we take that thought and process it to now we analyze and then we have these feelings and emotions. And from our emotions and our feelings, we respond and behave accordingly. And it's difficult to understand, and most people don't realize that we've already been programmed, right? From our experiences, what we've been taught, our culture, how we were raised, and even more so now with social media. So imagine we're taking, all this information. It's a lot to take in and process, but when you can understand neuro-linguistic programming and how that shapes the way we think and feel and process information. I mean, did I realize there was such a thing? Absolutely not. But when I learned it, I'm able to take a step back and really process the information and how I want to communicate to others. And it's so, so powerful. I've been able to help so many different clients, mainly women, on so many different areas.
Do you actually have reprogramming tools? Like, is that kind of how it relates?
Yeah. So let's say, can I give different examples?
Please.
Okay. I'll give an example of a client that she very intelligent, very smart, very creative, but she's afraid to show up online. So she has all the content and the knowledge, but showing up online. So we may do an NLP technique that I prefer for something like this, which is called swish pattern. And it basically changes your identity in the sense of, instead of staying stuck in fear, now we're changing it so that she can show up confidently. So that would be one. Another one that I did for a client recently is she's allergic to a particular food. So there is a technique called mapping across. You take what you like and you turn it into something that you dislike. So for example, she liked a specific food so much that even if she was allergic to it, it didn't matter. So the way we changed that is we didn't change the content, meaning the food, but what we did was we changed how she felt about that food. So by the end of the session, she no longer wanted it. And because she's allergic to it, that is a great example, because that right there is health. And to be able to change how you think and you use something in a simple 30 to 45-minute technique is powerful.
What is NLP most likely used for?
NLP can be used for, because there's so many techniques, so I'll break it down. First, it can be used to help with feeling stuck, negative emotions, to help from lack of confidence to become confident, to decrease anxiety, to go from a terrible addiction to now changing into something positive, to help with becoming a person that you want to become, to actually learn to know that you can be your authentic self. And when you learn this, you actually will start attracting and manifesting positive things, because now the second part of the equation is, when you learn these techniques, now you're understanding how your subconscious mind works, and by that you are reprogramming with these techniques.
Can you give us a few names of some of these techniques?
So there's what's called mapping across. There's the swish pattern. Those are absolutely my two favorite. There is time, which actually can help. It's helped my clients go back for something that they may not know why they feel a particular way. For example, let's say they want to manifest a certain amount that they want to make per month or per year, and they know what they need to do, but they can't quite get there. So they have this limiting belief. So we actually can go back in time, and they create a timeline where we can get to the root of how that limiting belief about money came about. There is what's called single belief change. So if somebody doesn't believe that, again, they can make great income, that's a technique I can use for that. There's also what's called rapport, where you actually learn how to communicate using eye patterns, body language, tonality, words that are being used. There is what's called anchoring. If you want to feel more positive, more confident, even more beautiful, I do anchoring techniques, and we associate it to a time or even in the present to bring up a positive feeling and let go of the negative.
How long does it take?
One session.
And is a session like hours and hours long?
I typically will give it anywhere from, because NLP is what we call a do with process. So they're aware that I'm going to do these techniques on them versus I'm doing it to them, if that makes sense. So 45 minutes to an hour is a typical session.
One session, that's pretty powerful. I think
Right.
that's incredible. So you mentioned time. That is an NLP technique.
Yes, it can be considered separate, but also under that umbrella. Again, when I'm with the client over Zoom, they close their eyes, and this is all our subconscious mind. It's all about not second guessing yourself, but automatically, what is your subconscious mind telling you? So I'll ask them with their eyes closed to create your timeline from the past, create your timeline in the future. And it's aligned with imagine all of these different events. So I go through a script and I'll say, imagine things will come up as I'm reading this script, and they will picture in their mind going backwards in time. And then they'll also picture themselves in the future. So let's say, for example, they wanted to put a goal out in the future. They can go in time into the future, imagine what it feels like to see it, to hear it. Now I'm going to take them a step back. And at the end of the session, now they can tell me what they actually saw when they were in their future selves and start implementing what they learned and the lessons they got from it.
It is
It's all subconscious mind. EFT is Emotional Freedom Technique, also known as tapping. Especially now with the pandemic, it's been a main technique. It helps with anxiety, lack of self-confidence. It helps with almost any emotion. Again, just like NLP, I want to reiterate, when we do these techniques, clients are open to it. So that is also a big factor. You're open to the process. So EFT can help to release, let go, or eliminate any emotion. You're tapping the negative emotions and now turning it by tapping into positive emotions. And it's similar to the meridians as you're doing acupuncture and acupressure.
Is that getting into the energy healing, which is
Yes, because now you are trying to tap into the energy field and make sure that all these feelings and energy aren't stuck and you're moving it around. And 99% of the time, clients have a complete shift right after. Depending on what it is you're going through, you might have to do several rounds. You rate it in the beginning just to see how you feel. So for example, with the pandemic, the main feeling is anxiety. Before we do the technique, we want to rate, okay, how are you feeling right now on a scale of 0 being nothing to 10 being the worst? Where are you feeling? We tap out the negative energy, the negative feeling. And then after that, we will tap in the positive feelings. And everyone can do this on their own. I at least do this once a day, whether it's morning or evening. So anybody can actually do this technique, which is, again, EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique.
so you brought up energy. Let's talk about Reiki.
Reiki is what they call healing of the hand. Rei is universal and ki meaning life energy. How it works is you're not touching the actual part of the body. What you're doing, let's say you have a pain or a wound. So me as the practitioner would maybe start from the head and going through. When I feel heat, I'm sensing something is off, right? I'm sensing there's a stuck energy, if you will, in that particular area of the body. And so I will keep my hands there for about maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And as I'm doing this, my hands are getting hot and my client will feel it. And I'll keep my hands there until, which I'll explain further, until the flow stops. So can I share my first experience? Okay. I never knew what Reiki was. I want to say maybe 20 years ago. I was at a store and this lady comes in. she passes by me and I'm very open. And she says, "Can I do a Reiki session on you?" And I asked her what that was. She explained it to me and she says, just trust me, because she had lived in Japan and this is where she learned it from. I didn't tell her my pain or where it was. So she came up behind me. I'm sitting down in a chair. She puts her hands, starting with my head, all the way down to my back. She gets to a particular area. My back is getting hot. I have a knot on my right side, which feels like a ball. So I had this for the longest time before she actually did this on me. When she put her hands up, and again, you're not touching the body, but she just put it up in that spot. I didn't tell her what the pain was or where it was. That knot I had in my back started untangling. And I was a believer in energy work since then. Since she did that Reiki session with me, I don't have that pain anymore.
Wow.
I also believe that drinking water helps. Water hydration is going to flush out all of that out of your system. Like when you get a massage and they're really trying to knead through those sore spots, they encourage drinking water after, because if you don't, what happens is the next day you have all these toxins built in your body, all this negative energy, and we wonder why. We need to give it time to heal. Energy work is by far something that I think everybody should have done on them, no matter what modality it is. We could learn from it. We are more in tune with ourselves, with our body, with our mind, and not just physical. But again, going back to mindset, our mind needs to be protected. If we don't do that and we aren't mindful of the way we think, the way we feel, we don't get in touch with our emotions and allow ourselves to go through it and heal, it stays stuck or stagnant. And then we wonder why we have aches and pains and we are snappy and we're emotionally disturbed, or a lot of these things, they will manifest in so many ways that we almost will make ourselves sick.
What would somebody go to do a Reiki session for?
It can be stress, relaxation, meditation, anxiety, pains that are not like a diagnosis. I think even inner peace, if you will. For example, I have asthma. So if I want to calm down so that I can lessen asthma attacks, I've gone into a Reiki session so that it'll help me with my breathing and my lungs and everything in that area. No way do I want to say it's to not see your doctor.
That makes sense. And absolutely, we're not saying don't go see your doctor. These are just ways to keep ourselves healthy mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically.
Absolutely.
Can all of these be done virtually?
You don't have to be in person. I had a session by a different practitioner where she called me and she says, "Okay, where are you going to be?" And I said, "Okay, I'll lie down on my couch." And she said, "Just by our energy, I'll tune into your energy and we'll do it that way." Again, that was very healing and at the same time profound, because you think to yourself, how does that even help? But being open to energy work, you are allowing yourself to receive healing in these ways. And more preventative, like we touched earlier, if you are having anxiety and you are feeling a certain emotion, it's easy to say, I just want to go to a doctor to get medication for it. But I know for me, I use a lot of these techniques so it doesn't get to the point where it's so bad that now I only go to the doctor and I'm taking a prescription.
Take care of your grief and the stress and anxiety. Take care of your mental health so we don't have those breakdowns.
Absolutely.
Just like taking care of your body, it's just like going to the gym. We have to get rid of these stigmas. We have to take care of ourselves. Our minds are powerful. If they are so powerful, we can end up in these negative spirals. I think it's important to have the tools and the resources to not go down those paths. And that's exactly what Sophia Health is for. If you're open to that energy, then you said it can help. That's great. Are there any other sessions or tips that you tell your clients?
Major thing that I tell my clients is when it comes to mindset, there's what we call cause versus effect. And what that means is if we are living in effect, we are blaming everything else. We are blaming outside sources, we're blaming other people for something negative, wrong, maybe something in our life that may not be where we want it to be. So it's easy to blame other things. That's living in effect. Living in cause is knowing that you take your power back by being responsible because you know in some way you're a cause for this to happen, or you're taking ownership of it. I'd like to give an example. Can I use the pandemic as an example? Okay, so I will use myself. When the social distancing first happened, I was living in effect because I am 47, I do have asthma, I do have a heart condition, and I am also immune compromised. So that's been my experience with health. So if I live at cause with COVID going on, I could say because I have all these conditions, yes, I'm just gonna get it then. I can just blame it all on that. That's what social media says. That's what the commercial said. And I started to actually get short of breath because what I was seeing and what I was hearing, I was taking in my mind and how I wanted to take it in. I said, you know what? I can be responsible and own this in that has nothing to do with me. I'm not there. I don't have it, but I can wear a mask. I can sanitize. I can get tested. I can do all the things that I need to do to keep my health. And it goes back to mindset because I was easily already affecting my breathing by allowing myself to take all of this information and just blame everything going on. But to take ownership of your mindset and your health and well-being starts with ourselves.
Can you explain what something manifesting may look like? Can you just explain that a little bit?
So let's say I'm having a rough day. I'm tired. I haven't eaten. I've been stressed. I may feel stiff in my neck, my back. Why is that? I'll take a step back. Okay, Rob, did you eat? Did you hydrate? How are your thoughts? Did you tune in with your body and understand what you're feeling? How are your emotions? How are you thinking? I know for me personally, that has a lot to do with the aches and pains I've had in my back, my shoulders, how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling. When we can get in tune with our emotions and our body and allow ourselves to go through it, most of us would probably not feel most of the aches and pains and the hurts that we feel. And I'll share another example with my asthma. I know when I was younger, when I start getting uptight, if I'm thinking about something that isn't good, isn't positive, it's not healthy for my mind, I will start getting to the point where my breathing is very shallow. Then what can happen? It can start to close your windpipes. And now it can blow up into this huge asthma attack, and now I can't breathe. It's big, it's huge, and this needs to be taught in the school systems. Everyone needs to know and understand how powerful our mind is.
For the NLP piece of this and manifesting, you go back through time. Can you give any examples?
Can I even give an example about myself?
Yeah.
Okay. I will say a lot of this is subconscious. We don't realize it. We're not aware of it, right? So for me, I would always think I'm only able to make this amount of money. That's a set point that we give ourselves, right? Nobody's telling us that. going through this, well, when did I decide that I can only make this amount of money? So when I had time techniques done on me, we went back to my childhood, and automatically my subconscious mind heard, we can't afford that. You can only make this much money. Go to school so that you can get a good job, right? So that you can make XYZ amount of money because XYZ person made that amount of money. Again, it's part of our programming that we don't realize. And I think abundance is huge to learn and understand why we can only make a certain amount. Or, we were programmed to think you can only work a 9 to 5 job, that you can't be an entrepreneur. So that's a huge one. It's a favorite to go back to the root cause of why we think a certain way about things.
Super fascinating, and I love it. I just want to make sure for everybody listening to this, how else do you know you're letting your subconscious mind drive your life and make all these decisions? It's hard to have that awareness that these tools can help, because it's hard to even identify that these things may be happening in your life.
Right.
How can we help people be aware that this could be happening in your subconscious from what you heard as a child? So in a way, I think it's great that we have big stars coming out and sharing their experiences to say, this is how this is affecting me and my entire life.
Absolutely. And like you said earlier, Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, best examples, they know this, they've known this. And more people are aware than many years ago. But I know when the way I thought about myself changed. And don't get me wrong, it's always still a work in progress, right? So just the way that I view things and my perspective, and not understanding how my mind is and how I communicate, but understanding other people, which can go into so many different directions. I mean, I can explain a few of that if you'd like me to, but you really understand why and how other people think.
It's just powerful, right?
It is.
Change your mind, change your life. Again, that's probably why that's my favorite quote.
If people understood the way they thought and why, that actually will help you to not only understand other people, but to not judge others.
So if we're not being taught the basic fundamentals, if we don't have the tools for the most powerful instruments we own, that's kind of how I look at it, right? And that is why we started Sophia Health. So you can get these tools and this information that we're not being taught in school.
100%.
Thank you so much for coming on with us today. This was absolutely wonderful. I'm glad that you are so passionate about mindset, because I am too. Grab a session with Ro. She's on Sophia Health.